Hello, hello, and welcome to another Sunday night of miniature painting. Hello, Modifian, glad to see you're on. So, as I started doing this Wednesday, I've been testing a starter paint set from the Army Painter, not one you can see here, and I've been painting the nice little miniature in front. So I'll be continuing that today, and remember that if you just give me a follow and tell me in the chat that you want to be in on a lottery, you will be able to maybe win this starter set as well as the wet palette. Now the wet palette I was pleasantly surprised with last time. I'm looking at it now while I'm trying to set up. I had a few technical difficulties as always. It's getting to be a little bit too often. But it has actually, it's been 4 days since I painted last, and I think it's actually done a fairly good job of keeping wet, but I can see that it needs a little bit of extra water, so I'm going to give it that. I'll just be doing that off screen. Of course, the paints I used last time are not usable anymore in the wet palette. I didn't expect them to, because 4 days of a wet palette at room temperature and so on, it's not gonna cut it. So no surprise there. I was a little disappointed with how much water had actually evaporated from it. But again, I mean, it's not bad as such. It's just needed quite a bit more than what I'm used to from my other. But with that being done and the audio actually working now, I think I need to get a new sound set up. I think we are just about ready to paint. Oh, just need to adjust this up a little bit. And I need to turn off my phone. That's gonna be very annoying really fast. So, what are we trying to do today? Well, we are trying to finish up this guy here. So you can get some light on him. Anyway. I've really not placed my camera well tonight, so go. Probably need. I need to just adjust the lamp and the light a little bit. Now the arm or boom or whatever it's called that I have the camera on is actually really nice. There we go. But it's also very stiff, which is a good thing because it means it doesn't really move on its own. It also means that if I need to make even small adjustments, it's going to be sometimes a little tricky. So there we go. This looks a lot more doable, especially if you just do like that. Oh, you can see my beard. Thank you, Modifian. Anyway, we will continue using the starter brush. Again, it comes with the starter set, and we'll just see where we go. So, just a quick check because I have had quite a lot of audio issues. Are the music and voice level, are they to your liking? Anyway, what we got done last time was. Okay, why can you not? Oh, I guess I think I know why it cannot do this. Hang on. Get it like so. So yeah. Okay, this looks somewhat doable. Oh shit, you're really lagging today, Modifian, I can tell that. So what we did last time was we just did the base coat and we did the shade using the strong tone that comes with the set. And that gave, basically I just gave, used a strong tone on the entire miniature. As you can see here, in many ways I actually like the skull the best. You can see it has a really sort of nice shade over the dome of the skull. But what we'll be doing today are some quick highlights. I'm just going to do them fairly quick and simple where needed, to just emphasize his rippling muscles and his legs, and I don't know, it's not a loincloth, whatever it is he's got hanging down there, maybe a bit on his belt. I need to do some black, proper black shading on the weapons, and maybe touching up, depending on how far we get, just touching up, there's some inlays on his axe. I know you're trying your best, Modifian, you always are, and you always succeed. But for this, we'll just start with his, well, the pants, the green pants, I guess, is a good place to start. And as I said, I'm basically just going to do a quick job doing the highlights. So I'm not going to do a lot of different shades and mixing up paints and so on. So I'm basically just going to pull it back on to the level he was at before, or the color he was at before, the green skin color. And you say, wow, those ass stitches are stretched to the max. That dude has dumps like a truck. He does, doesn't he? And you would notice that. You always do. So yeah, well, I was a little bit delayed today because I had to go save science with a friend of mine. So I got a little bit delayed. And then when I booted up my computer and all that, again, what happened was that the external USB sound card I have, that I use as a mixer for the mic and stuff like that, to better adjust levels, sometimes it just decides, or Windows just decides that it doesn't want to recognize it, or something like that. And I think what happens is that it goes into, well, Windows re-recognizes it and then dumps it at a default settings, which is something like 32-bit and 44 kilohertz, which apparently it is not very happy with, the sound card itself. So effectively, Windows is trying to play sounds in a format that the sound card doesn't support. Now again, I'm actually kind of curious because I just thinned out the paints, the green paints here a little bit. Here, I'll test on the paper because I wanted them to be a little bit smoother for spreading. But as you can see, if I draw over this down here, I think you just barely see it. You can really clearly see the gray through here, up here, and the brown is probably a better place. See, when I'm drawing over this, there's nowhere near enough green pigment to go in and cover it, which means that when I'm actually trying to paint over some of the darker areas of his leg here, the color just doesn't stick. So I may actually need to not use thin paints for this, which surprises me a lot. And again, now I actually feel like I have the consistency of milk. I've talked about this a lot, and pro painters will tell you, thin your paints to the consistency of milk. And I just go, milk is freaking thin. And if I thin down my paints to that consistency, viscosity, whatever it's called, it's practically water with no pigments, no usable pigments whatsoever. Let me just go with the unthinned paint. Again, this is the one we're using here from the starter set. See how it goes. I mean, if we try over here, and see it's still probably can't see it on camera. It still doesn't cover the black completely, which is fine because we do want some of the other colors to shine through or show through. But it covers a lot better. What we're trying to do here with the highlights, which is something I'm still struggling with and trying to learn. I don't want to just pour it on all of the, you know, his legs and all that. I only want to put it on the things that are raised up. It's still really runny. Maybe it's because there's, you know, leftover water from the other paint. Maybe in the brush, who cares? Milky nail polish is the worst. You have to do 5 coats to get anywhere. Why would you do that with actual paint? Well, people do it especially to get thinner layers so it doesn't pop into the to all the small fine details. But I mean, this will not get me anywhere anytime soon. Yeah, and then when I'm doing a sort of slightly thicker layer, I get brush strokes in the paint. That's really annoying. So it's not kind of strange and really frustrating, to be honest. Because one thing is struggling, you know, with doing things in a new way. But then seems like, you know, my paint's actually working against me. And I know someone out there who's actually watching this has a lot better grasp of miniature painting than me. Please let me know what I'm doing wrong, because I'm obviously doing something wrong here. I'm trying to put down a layer of green over another layer of green, and I basically get either nothing or strange sort of blobs of paint that doesn't actually go where I want them to. And this looks a little better here, not a lot. So yeah. So I was saying that besides nail polish, you want a smooth flat surface and not to see the ridges of your nail. Oh yeah. Then you actually want it to cover a little bit, I guess. But again, if you look here, you can sort of still see the dark spots in between. Yeah, the smooth flat surface, you would get that by having, you know, applying thicker layers, I guess. I mean, this, to me, this just currently looks like I'm just pushing paint around. Instead of actually painting, I'm just having this sort of wet substance that doesn't actually stick to the surface, but just gets pushed around, and that doesn't really give me much hope for my skills at using these techniques, you know, for layering and stuff like that. And maybe you should just go back to old-fashioned, you know, dry brushing things on, because at least then I don't have the pools of paint, the very thin pools of paint that I think will dry up really horribly. It seems like it's getting itself for the derail. It's just milky is a very bad term, and I'm guessing polish and not Polish and made me think of it. But yeah, but I mean it's a term to use to describe the thickness of the paint. And I just it never sat right with me, because whenever I try to thin it down that much, it doesn't actually stick to the miniature. It's my experience. But anyway, it seems like it's at least slowly getting somewhere. So you can get a little more light on him. It's not very visible, but it's just a tad visible, that I actually do get some brighter highlights on now. I'll just give it another go with the green, then I'll go for a different color, and then I will return to it with a brighter green, just to try it out and just to test it and see how it goes. Yeah, I think it's getting a few highlights here and there. Still nothing. I think that makes me go, oh wow, what a great paint. And I mean, I have actually successfully used this technique with both Vallejo and scale color paints. And it may not be army paint, it may just be a matter of how thick or thin the paint is. But you know, using this unthinned and not being able to actually get a real coat of paint kind of makes me feel, maybe a little cheated. So anywho, it did give some kind of highlighting effect. Hey John, what's up? I'm just complaining viciously about the viscosity of this paint, which is either way too thin if I thin it down a little bit, or either too thin or not thin enough if I don't thin it down. So it's giving me a little bit of headache, but I'll just try and see. So that was a little bit of green highlight. I'll come back to that, the brighter color. For now, I'll move on to the red. And yeah, just to show you in the wet palette, the greens down here are the ones I'm currently using. You can see they're very glistening, and these ones up here, that green, that was from Wednesday, and as you can see, it's not like it's usable as a paint anymore. So 4 days just leaving it there, it will not hold in your palette, and that is nothing to do with the palette. That is simply because you can't keep paint wet that long. I'm also shaking up my paint in my small vortex stir thingy. It probably makes a bit of noise, but it works quite nicely. So moving on to the red. Let's see how that one fares. Plop a nice little bunch out there. Now again, we're just I'm gonna skip sort of the intermediate highlight layers and just go straight back to the base color and hope that somewhere between, you know, the thinness of the paint and the shade and all that, it's just gonna work. So first I'm gonna Vertex exterior. I thought you moved away from pretty Celtic music to like Rammstein. Yeah, John, there's so many factors to thinning paints. There's the basic thickness or viscosity, whatever, of the paint itself. Then there are the pigment types and the pigment sizes, and if you're using just plain water like tap water, or if you're using demineralized or distilled water, or if you're using thinner mediums, or things like that. But I'm, again, just to test the starter set only, I'm not using my mediums for thinning down the paint. I'm strictly using water, or as I'm doing here in this case, absolutely nothing. But John, what's up with you? M said she'd painted the a huge miniature, or well, not a miniature if it's huge, but some kind of really cool, very green miniature that you wanted to paint. also, this red one here is actually going quite nicely onto the previous surface, and can probably just finish that off in one go. At least get some highlights. See, this is where I'm kind of sort of cheating, because here, I guess it's the technique. I'm actually painting the actual highlights, not using, you know, the dry brush technique or something like that. I'm just going, okay, this seems to be the part of the cloth going upwards, like the edges or ridges here. This needs to be painted in a brighter color, and I'm just doing that based on where I feel like the light is coming if you look at it from above. And I guess that's how highlights work, really. And the thing that makes me go, oh, nice, about this red one is that red colors, I don't know if it's the pigments or whatever, but I've always struggled with getting them to cover nicely, which is why I was so very impressed with the scale color red that really does come in quite nicely, but this one is as well. Let's see if we can get this in just a little bit of highlighting here, just to emphasize, you know, the ridges just a bit. I mean, all of this is pointing downwards, so it's not really going to be visible, and it's not really going to be lit up, but just doing a brief kind of edge highlight on it. Oh wow, just messed up the green. That's brilliant. Just touching up the edges just slightly is a good way to make it more clear to the observer where the edges and ridges of the miniature is, and that emphasizes the highlights and the shadows. At least that's the theory. Question is, can I actually do it and make it look good? Probably not. So you have printed a few busts, learning how to use the printer. They've only been primed at this point. Okay, but it's a resin printer, if I'm not mistaken. You have, and I find those really interesting. The fact that the miniatures just sort of grows out of nothing. Well, a huge primordial soup or goo, I guess. Yeah, see, again here we have the very thin paint not really covering well, I think. But whatever. I'm not using this, I'm not painting this as a display piece. I'm really just painting this to make it usable, and okay, I cannot look at this in the wrong way. I'm just, again, I have my magnifying lamp here, and I was just looking at it, you know, pulling the miniature too far away, and that just made my eyes hurt instantly, because then it's not really in focus, and it's in sort of it gets slightly double vision when I do it, so I see the miniature twice. Not fun. So that went well. We need to do the, actually for the top is sort of not up here. I will actually take the second brush I've decided to use for this. The agreement between the streamers doing this challenge this Christmas is to only use the starter set, prime the miniatures in whatever way we want, because it's so much more fun if you do that. And then in addition to the paintbrush in the starter set, we could use one other brush, and I've chosen my 000 brush, and that will come in quite handy here for laying down the highlights up here on his sort of hairband. Now, a hairband was obviously something you had if you were doing aerobics back in the 80s, which goes to show a little bit about who this guy really is. What's his fancy? And I'm guessing that if he has a hairband, he was into 80s aerobics exercises. Would probably tear me in half for suggesting that, But I mean, come on, look at his muscles. He's gotta be doing some kind of training, exercise, working out. Now, whatever else you can say, I mean, aerobics was an efficient, effective way of training. Just basically just keeping your body working and active for an hour or two. Oh yeah, are you suggesting that he is actually an a-ha fan? I think he might be. I think you might be right. Now, the thing with doing layering like this is that I usually don't know when to stop. So I always get, you know, just a little bit too much paint on at some point. That's fine, fine, fine. I'll just keep building up. Trying to keep up, you know, building the colors on the ridges. And it's already looking a lot better. Oh, you painted, that's really nice to hear. What have you been painting, John? And if you've only primed your fancy home printed busts, then I'm guessing it's other minis. So yeah, I just need to go in and try to fix. Now I got this red dash stroke, whatever, down on his leg. I'm just gonna quickly try and cover that up. Yeah. That might help a little bit. Now, what I need to do then is I need to do something about the yellow. A couple of minis for something beside Black Plague. Oh, how are the minis in Black Plague? Because when I tried the minis or tried painting the minis in season 3, Remorque, I got so bored, I got so frustrated with the quality that I just didn't want to paint them anymore. Also shaking up the yellow here, so sorry about the noise. Oh, that's good to hear that the minis are good in Black Plague. What I found frustrating about Remorque was that I would often not be able to actually see what the different parts of the miniature was. So some of the normal zombies, I couldn't see if something going down on his, his side was ribs or a part of his purse or whatever. And to me, that just makes me not want to paint the minis, because yeah, that just seems needlessly annoying. Okay, so see if the yellow goes on. Again, I'm just gonna do quick highlights, painting the topmost parts of all of this. Why do I have something sticking to the tip of my brush here? Oh well. Exactly, minis that look like blobs. I recently painted the 6 starter minis for Gloomhaven, and especially the Spellweaver, I got so frustrated because she has something that could either be her eyebrow or her eyeball or just part of her face, and I never could figure out what it was, because if I looked at it from one side or one angle, it looked like one thing, and if I looked from another angle, it looked like another, which made it really impossible to actually paint that part in a good way, because no matter what, it would look wrong at some point. And that was just really a blob. And I painted the last 2, that was the Tinkerer and the Scoundrel, in between painting, the last painting session on this guy here and today. So going straight from a Citadel Games Workshop miniature to a poorly sculpted, well, I think actually they have a lot of really good details in their models. It just seems to me, and this is the Gloomhaven miniatures again, just seems to me like the process, well, not printing, when they make the models, it just cannot do the same level of detail that the models are in, and there you'll get sort of random artifacts like weird blobs here and there and things that probably look right in the 3D program but definitely don't in the finished mini. So I just think they may have actually over sculpted the models. So when the minis were being printed or molded, I guess you mold minis these days, always have, then you just cannot get that level of detail, and then things go bad. But that's just a guess, mind you. I do not know anything about how the Gloomhaven miniatures were really made. I have not seen the actual 3D models. But anyway, back to the paint set here. I really do think that the yellow one here is working far better than I had expected. I mean, this is, if you look at the top half, I just need to rinse my brush here. If you look at the top half here, where I've done a little bit of edge highlighting, versus the lower part, even on camera, you still should be able to see a huge difference. And that's what I'm talking about when I'm saying, you know, tabletop ready. You shouldn't go into the details, because then you'll see my brush strokes. Where did I put the paint? But from afar, he looks a lot meaner, because this skull emblem, what is it called, symbol on his oversized belt buckle. And this guy is obviously compensating for something. Just doing it down here. But I mean, it actually suits me quite nicely that this one here is going well. When I paint, hey Bill, good to see you. And John writes, I'm usually disappointed when I see the sculpts in a Kickstarter preview versus what we actually get. Oh, definitely, because you usually see the 3D images from a sculpting program, or whatever they're called, modeling program, which is gonna be high definition rendered. Oh, it's going good, Bill. What about you? Are you working, or are you just chilling? I just need to do focus. There we go. It is actually working. I think I have actually now successfully highlighted something in the right way. Oh, first day off after a long rough week of it. Oh, sorry to hear that, but I am so happy for you that it is now over. Now for his hair, I'm gonna spoil the I'm actually gonna spoil my otherwise fancy starter brush a little bit and do some sort of semi dry brushing on it. This is basically just to get the edges here, ridges down his hair, getting some yellow on that without getting too much yellow into the deep parts, because that's going to turn the yellow from the sort of slightly dirty version or color they have now and into a more clean yellow, and then after that we might do a little bit of white here and there. I also kind of have to work a little bit fast because I got started late and I don't have a lot of time to finish this miniature because it's supposed to be finished in this setting, and I also want to do the base and all that shit. Yeah, I'm actually rather busy, but I will try not to be too stressed out about it. That's still going to be fun. The KDM minis are so detailed it got bogged down with all the options. Yeah, then that's the next thing. You need to identify the highlights of the model or main features, and then go for those and let other things kind of sort of drop into the background a little bit, if that makes sense. Like with this guy here, the hair obviously something that will fill something when you're watching the miniature. Yeah, this is going well. It's going in the right direction at least. I know the basing on these models, the model comes with these bases, and I think that's really nice of Citadel to give you all of that. It makes it really easy, but then again, it also means that anyone painting this miniature and showing up, your local game store for a game or whatever, they're probably going to have the same base on him. That's going to be a little boring, but you can still play around a lot with how you finish it off, what colors you use, and stuff like that. Or you can just do your own bases. It's not currently glued to it, so I'm not completely married to this base, but I don't want to spend time doing that. Going in and doing a full custom base on him. It's not the point of this exercise. So that actually cleaned up the hair quite a bit. You still have, the shaded parts. So we're just gonna stick to that. So yeah, and also the base here, really cool. I wouldn't mind being able to do bases like that, but well, I can do some of it. I don't have enough, spare skulls lying around to actually do it. But yeah. Add a little bit more. I wanted to actually do a little bit more highlighting on his pants, because there's some nice big areas here. I'm sure Modifian will approve of me adding a little bit more color to his butt. And I want to just shade it up just a little bit, make it slightly wider for the next go. Here I just want the base color to shine through a little bit more clearly. It does now, and then we have some shading down in the recesses and on the low-lying parts of the pants. Yeah. Yeah, see, I told you Modifian would approve. So the last Zombicide Black Plague mini I painted was solely to try out some leather painting techniques. Ooh, I did not try to make everything else perfect, just wanted to get paint again. That's a really good technique. Instead of going to try and make an entire miniature absolutely 100% perfect, just do a few effects here and there, or focus on one part of the miniature and let the others just get some paint and a little bit of shade, because that goes a long way, and take part of it and make it pop. Also, cheers. With all the technical issues I had earlier, I decided to allow myself a little bit of port wine. And I also need to quickly shake up some more. Oh, thank you, Bill, for the cheers. Cthulhu cheers. Well, Cthulhu always cheers, but that's for entirely the wrong reasons. So let's see here, a little bit of white, a little bit of green. I'm gonna go a little heavy-handed on the highlighting, so I'm gonna pop up to a fairly bright green, all things considered. Okay, not white, so seem to have mixed together. I managed to mix white and green on my palette and get white. I'm not entirely sure how I did that. Oh, there we go, Cthulhu cheers. So anyway, this is probably going to be a little bit too bright. Yeah, I mean, that is too bright. again, that's the sort of the mixing ratio between whether you try to darken it with some black or lighten it with some white. That can also be, you know, to me at least, really tricky. It's especially with paints, I'm not that good at mixing, so I don't know where to start with one and choose. This should be a slightly better one for this purpose. Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be a little bright on this one here. No, that'll do. I'm a little bit out of my depth here because it's not, again, as I said, it's not how I usually do this, but it's nice to try out new techniques as well as new paints. So just get just a little bit brighter here. But actually, I think I noticed when I watched Minitarium a few days ago, a really nice guy called Torben. The paint he was using, you know, for his highlights, looked like the paint was actually fairly dry on the tip. You know, so it wasn't sort of glistening wet, and just sort of slowly kept going, not like, you know, dry brushing, but just slowly just keep on, you know, painting on, and every time it would add just a little bit more paint, kind of like what I'm doing now, and that gave a really nice even finish. So I'm kind of trying to mimic that, I guess, because what they say? They say imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, and I really like the work he's doing, so why not try and copy his techniques? So yeah, okay, so moving on to the cheeks. Yeah, that's, hey, I actually think like it's working. I just need to figure out how people manage to do all of this in about 5 minutes per miniature. So just a little bit more down here. So yeah. So other things that's happened recently, just to talk about this and that and everything and nothing. Yesterday we had another game session in the role-playing group where I'm actually a player, not a game master. We've been, the same group of people have been playing for about 20 years or so. So we know each other well. We have a really good sort of feel for how we want to do these games. And yet our game master still managed to surprise it a little bit. And just says video editing. Yeah, but I think the thing about the time is that when we're talking discussing in one of the Danish miniature painting groups, people will say, "Oh, I did this, and it took however long it was." And I mean, why would they lie about how long it takes? It doesn't make any sense to me, at least. And they say that they'll be painting, you know, miniature like this in far less than an hour, including everything. And that just, to me, always just seems like an impressive feat, because I spent several minutes per layer, per color, and then you just count the number of colors, which is at least 5 or 6, I think, actually, on this one, and 2 or 3 layers times a few minutes. That's way more than an hour, isn't it? I mean, 6 layers with 6 colors with 3 coats of paint, that's 18 times about 3 minutes. So that should actually be about an hour, but I spent more like 5 or 6, maybe even more. Then I have some, you know, details, highlighting and all that stuff, so it would be several hours for me. Hey, this is actually beginning to look rather well. What do you know? I mean, I shouldn't be surprised, because now I'm basically just doing what everyone else in, you know, basic tutorials and stuff is saying. Just do this, do this, do this, and just keep, you know, adding just a little bit and thinning your paints, blah blah blah, all those things, and well, it works. It's quite nice. Need to fix up his knee. And there we go. I mean, those pants are actually, yeah. When you get in the zone, time flies by and don't feel like I accomplished much. No, I have the same feeling, like I spent a lot of time without really getting anywhere, but at the same time I've enjoyed the time, so I don't really care about that. So I think I'll do the same with the yellow. Sorry, not the yellow, the white, which is called red in proper English. Sorry, I am very tired today. So I just add a little bit of white to some red, which will, yes, it will make it slightly pinkish. But that is why, just for good measure, I will add a little bit of yellow as well to keep the color brighter, but also keeping it in the more sort of warm spectrum, which actually turned it from sort of a pink and into slightly magenta. And yeah, John, you're absolutely right. The highlights make them pop. Doesn't even have to be a lot. Just stuff like doing edge highlighting will take a miniature from looking flat and dull to just making it come a lot more alive. So I'm just gonna do really, really carefully pulling this down. Can I do this without brightening it up too much? I believe I can. It's almost like magic. Now, I'll try to see if I can get a clear view of this. If you look at his, would be the right hand side strip coming down. It's not a lot, but if you look at it a little bit from on top, you see it's slightly brighter than his left one. I can actually make it even brighter to make it clearer, but it shouldn't be much more than that, because then it's going to look like the actual color of the thing is pink and not red. Really just want to do bright one. I also do this from time to time, that I sort of just dab my finger at the miniature to sort of remove a little bit of the paint. Now for the edges and ridges here, I don't mind going a little bit heavy on the sort of pinkish color, because that's just gonna make the miniature pop. That make that edge pop actually. And I can see that when it dries down, it loses a little bit of the pinkiness, which is good. And just do a little bit down here on the ridges there. Just to give it that extra shine. There we go, nice and subtle, but this is actually what's gonna make it be visible from, as I generally say, from an arm's length away. If you use that as sort of your guiding principle when painting for large armies or games like Zombicide, where you have what 50, 70-ish similar zombies, or well, it's different varieties. You don't want to spend 5 hours per miniature doing high detailed work and getting everything just right. You just want to have enough that when they're standing on the board, you can see just the highlights on them. The ridges should be emphasized, and you can get really far with really simple techniques like this. One of the very nice articles I've read on this, which wasn't a YouTube video, but an actual honest to God, whoever your God might be, article, compared this to theater makeup, stage makeup. I said that when they're doing stage makeup, it doesn't have to look good when you're sitting right across from the actor. It has to look good when you're sitting on the balcony. I think was it Modifian or AJ that had a term for it that was sort of like balcony makeup or whatever. But basically, you'll just take. Let's say you're going for the classic sort of white-faced look. I got a little bit too much paint on the middle one. Paint for the balcony. That's the term. Paint for the balcony, not for the people in the front row. And what that means is that what they'll often do is they'll just take maybe a white, a medium gray, and black, and just do fairly wide lines down your face. So your forehead is going to be shined up. And you can't really see it because the light is coming from all different angles. But maybe we can do it if we do like this. No, it doesn't work. But basically, the forehead up here gets a white line. Maybe a small black line here. Black under here, maybe some white again here, and some gray down the sides where my beard is. And black eyebrows, because that's visible from the balcony. And that's going to be like white, black, gray, white, another gray, white on the chin here. And that's it. That's gonna do it. It doesn't take a full hour like a good makeup with smoky eyes and good foundation and all that. You don't need that because you need to be looking good from 100 yards away. So yeah, that was some thoughts on that. It's now the back here. Again, the reason you can't see my paint stroke is it's coming through the camera, but the red here looks a lot more emphasized, and that's really the effect I'm going for. So that seems to have worked out quite nicely. I will do his belt next. See, the makeup they did for black and white TV, like green blush, yellow lipstick, lavender contouring. Yeah, but that was because they didn't go for the colors, obviously, for black and white TV. They probably went for contrasts. I don't actually know the terms for that. Hello, Frabe. Frabe, I'm sorry I missed your stream earlier today. I just I saw it too late to actually go take a look. I hope you had a great time with the painter set. For everyone else, Frabe is also one of the Danish streamers who's testing out this beginner set or starter set from Army Painter, and he had his stream earlier today, obviously, and I missed it. Sorry about that. So yeah, with different shades gave different shades of gray precisely, and that was the level of gray they were going for, because that's what's gonna show. So switch the title to desync. Yeah, damn it. Apparently it's a day for technical issues. I had technical issues again, Frabe. The external USB audio interface I'm using has this tendency to not work well. Windows, I think, reinitializes it and sets the bit rate and stuff like that to something that it doesn't actually support. Oh, desync there. Well, Frabe, I'll just repeat it. Frabe is one of the other Danish streamers who's testing the Army Painter starting set. And unfortunately, I missed his stream earlier today. I was doing other things, so I didn't see the notification until, well, after he was done. And I had even more other things to do anyway, so I'm sure it went well, but I don't even know what did you paint? I know Miniatorium did the Gretchens and Orcs, the old Warhammer 40k Orcs. And, well, I'm doing one of the Warhammer Underworlds thingies. I think mainly for this belt, I'm not really gonna go in 90. Oh, whoa, 90s. Is that 90s Cadian, as in the 1990s Cadian dude? Yeah. Let's see if I can just briefly hit this one here. Sorry, go quiet. Go quiet when I actually have to focus on this. Then it's at least nice to know that you have some wonderful music, and as always, it is Adrian van Ziegler who allows you to use his music for free in non-commercial projects, streams, YouTube, Twitch streams, stuff like that. So if you like him, go look him up. Links should be in the description somewhere. Blah blah blah, the usual. He's a cool guy. I think he does really great music. It's really nice to listen to. I also use it when playing role-playing games and stuff like that. So yeah, decided to throw some money at him through Patreon. It seems to be a good thing. So we still need to touch up the blue a little bit with some brighter color. And then I need the thing that's been scaring me the most about the highlights on this model is actually his very muscular chest, because I can really mess that up a lot if I don't get the highlights right, but at the same time, gotta go for it. I'm just gonna give this a thin line of, again, sort of kind of edge highlight. Well, I guess this is actually edge highlighting up here. It's a little heavy-handed. Again, it should work. And it should, when it dries down, it should actually be a little less bright. I'll just pull it down a little. Yeah, that seems to have done it. Okay, I think sound is back, both music and yeah, my voice. You heard us, yeah. Yes. Oh, we need someone to do a full, what's called David Attenborough's on about, you know, the different streamers, and here we see them in the natural habitat and all those things. So yeah, so I am back to pollute the airways. Basically just have to go in, disable the microphone, re-enable it in Windows Sound. But having to do that just frustrates me. At least it worked without me having to reboot this time around. So yeah. So maybe just a little. This is where my downfall starts coming up. I'd be down to a technical thingamajig if you want to go through your setup a little. Very much. I used to be sort of good at these things, back in the day. I do work as a software developer, but a software developer and someone who knows how to jiggle the things around in a computer is no longer the same. But the main thing that's giving me grief is the external audio interface, as I said, which is from M-Audio. So it's a USB device where I have the external dials and knobs and stuff for controlling the microphone. Also got a very nice XLR microphone, but I'm guessing that either my USB is overloaded on my old computer, or it's just not a good audio interface. That might also be an option. But yeah, professional computer toucher. Again, is that kind of like you just have to be there, just say a few things, and then all of a sudden people's computers will work? Because I've had that happen once in a while. It's actually in a USB 2 port. When I had it in the USB 3 port, things were really wonky. So now it's in one of the onboard USB ports, USB 2 ports, not 3. My camera and the cam link for the DSLR, which is not a DSLR, the main camera, this one here, that runs through one of the cam link things that goes into USB 3 port. I have one of the Logitech webcams right there, which is, I've also added it to the USB 3 ports because that seemed to be more stable. But that might not be a good idea. So anyway, this guy has a chest. Let's do something about it. Yeah, isn't it kind of like people just went, well, USB is just how you do things these days, so just slap on a standard chip with a standard driver without really optimizing or checking or looking at stability or anything like that. It just went, oh, this is just standard, we don't have to worry about it. Which is sad, really. So now I don't want to go straight up to the base color of his what's it called, his chest here, because the skin I used is a lot brighter than what he has here. So I want to try and make an intermediate layer for him. And let's see if we can do that by mixing a little bit. Actually, I'm mixing in the shade here that I used with the flesh color to hopefully get somewhere in between. And then just do a quick round of highlighting with that first. And this is slightly daunting. Also not good that I have stuff there. Because here I actually have to worry about where the lines go. So let's just start somewhere, like here. Seems to be a good place. Again, going for the upper sides of everything. I am not used to doing this. This is kind of stressing me out, but it's a good exercise. That's a little bit too much, but who cares? Okay, this is so far going quite a bit better than I had feared. I mean, the paint is flowing quite nicely from the brush, has a good consistency, which means that I can actually get it where I want it to be and not just having it float around somewhat randomly. And This is in contrast to the problems I had with the green one at first when I started doing the green highlights, where it would either sort of be blobby, be blobs of paint that I could push around, or it would be really thin and not really cover anything. So this is actually working quite nice. Why didn't anyone teach me how to paint like this back in the 90s? That would have made my life so much better. I mean, it's subtle enough that you can't really see it, but again, I think that's good, because it means that I'm hitting sort of the right tone and the right areas. But I'm telling you, from over here, you're seeing him in real life. That is very nice on the eyes. Oh, I also need to do his face. I should have gone for one of the guys who had, you know, a full helmet on. Then I don't have to do the face. So okay, so I'm getting a little bit of poor coverage here on the shoulder, because there's some very dark pools that I didn't clean up properly. I'll just slowly fix that as we go along. At least try to. Pretty much like that. See, this here, one of the reasons this is challenging to me, apart from not really being, you know, well versed in the technique, is also the thing that I never learned to draw when I was a kid or as a grown-up, and I might be able to draw a semi-straight line if I really had to, but actually drawing something that looks like something else, you know, by hand, just pencil and paper, I'm not good at that. I tried a few times and people just go, oh, just paint something. I mean, it's better to paint than not paint anything, and things just get warped and skewed and don't get the dimensions right and all that. So here I actually have to consider where to place the highlights, which is a little difficult because I'm used to sort of painting within the lines of the miniature, just going, oh, all of this is skin, painted, skin color, then shade it with, you know, this color shade, maybe dry brush it. So you use the physical contours and the miniature itself to assist you in getting the highlights the right place. But here I actually have to consider, do I want brighter paint on this small spot of the miniature? Is this a ridge of a muscle? Is this a large area that needs to be highlighted and stuff like that? Which means I actually have to be a little artistic about it. That is not what I'm good at, people. I'm a lot better at programming computers to do nice graphics than I am at doing them myself. So yeah, but I mean, so far his he's getting somewhere, and he's getting a few highlights in what seems to be approximately the right areas. At least I don't fill in too much of the shaded areas, which I guess is a good starting point. And also, when doing this, I actually sort of get a much sort of smoother coloring of the paint, different areas. Just guess it's because I'm putting a thin layer of paint over something that has different colors. It sort of makes it a little bit blended together, which works fairly well. So yeah, so things could be worse. I can see that there are a lot of details on this miniature that I'm not going to get to in this session, like the spikes and the scars and all that. I'm basically almost out of time, and I'm gonna push it a little further because it started so late today. I'm gonna go for at most an hour more, also because I need to go to bed pretty soon. So yeah. So if I can get the highlights done, I'll do a quick touch up of other parts, like maybe do the base real quickly. That'll just have to do. Again, on the grounds that I'm not going full in on the details. We're still doing tabletop ready. Oh, what's Father saying? Make some red into the barbarian flesh to make a redder skin tone. Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Yeah, so yeah, mixing paints is always a fun adventure. I just decided to go with the base colors without mixing them to see how they end up after certain amount of some highlighting, shading, and all that, to see what green do you actually get in this set, what red, what yellow, all those things. But yeah, so mixing up, definitely. I mean, the barbarian flesh is not too far from my own skin color. A little bit off, obviously. I'll probably always be, but yeah, not too far off. And then the shade darkens it down quite a bit, which is nice. And then I just want to bring it up a little bit more, but I'm more than happy to go for sort of a finish where he has some fairly dark dark shades, and then some almost sickly pale highlights, because this is a Chaos Warrior of a kind, at least one of the tainted ones from the Warhammer universe. He's not well. I also painted mine mostly using the included. Oh, we are getting rated. That is absolutely wonderful. Hello, raid. Hello, Miss Chameleon. Thank you for the raid. It's a pleasure having you here. We're painting miniatures, and we're painting miniatures using only the Army Painter starter set that you can get. So we're very limited in the colors. It's a challenge a couple of miniature streamers, miniature painters have given ourselves this Christmas, and yeah, so we're just trying it out. And we're currently fresh faces. That was a lot of people all of a sudden showing up. Thank you. So now I have to be careful what I say. I have an audience. No, but we're just painting up this guy from the Warhammer Underworlds game. One of the original models. I think he's called Arnulf, one of Gyrek's Reavers. And I said the challenge is to paint him using only the paints in the Army Painter starter set. And also only using the brush that came with that set, with the exception that we were allowed to use one more brush. And for my extra brush, I decided to take a 000, simply to be able to do some details if I actually get to that. So anyway, talk about yourself. Where are you from? What have you been watching? What have you been doing, Miss Chameleon? Yeah, I've been watching art. Well, art is always good to watch. I hope you can actually see a little bit of this. We have this rather fearsome. Oh, cool. I have to check that link a little bit later. I need to keep cracking on this lovely miniature here. Quickly do the hands. Should be able to move on to other parts. Oh, we're making Christmas cards. Well, that is definitely the right thing to do at this time. Thank you, Miss Chameleon. And one of your followers or viewers said you were doing Christmas cards. Sounds like a really wonderful thing to do. I don't think I'll be popular if I send him, this guy here, out as a Christmas card. Probably not going to give me a lot of presents. So, and yeah, I am streaming from Denmark. So, welcome to the old world. What do we have? We have Corpse Throat. Oh, we have Rage Rex 94, Pixel Vix, Miss Chameleon. A lot of people. Great to have you. So, what do we need to do to get this guy out? His face. Need to look a little bit more at his head up here. We're currently in the highlighting step, trying to make it look like, or emphasize, the miniature, to get shadows and light and everything to play just right. And it is not my strong suit. I hate doing it, but I do it anyway. Oh, you're from Norway. Oh, that is a beautiful country. I have been there on many occasions, hiking out in the mountains. That's hiking, not hiding. But it's been a few years since I went there. Apart from the small cruises you can take from Copenhagen to Oslo and just have a single day in your wonderful capital, I haven't actually been proper hiking there since 2006. That is way too long. So I should go at some point when we are actually allowed to, go traveling again, to go places. So I think I will leave it at this for the skin. Oh, well, the beard, well, I should probably show that is actually so long that you cannot see it on the face cam. So yeah, so thank you for that. If Modifian is still here, it seems like you've got some competition. Now what to do next? Beard limit break. Well, we should. The next challenge for what we're gonna do is any products. Yeah, I actually do. I use a beard shampoo from L'Oreal, and then I use. I cannot remember the brand for the oil I use. It's a very sort of rough. Oh, that is true, Modifian. You do have an advantage there. You'll be able to touch it next weekend when I go visit you. So, Yeah, I need to do some shading on his. It's gonna be a little bit noisy now, new people, because I will be shaking up my paint using one of these Vortex painters. Doesn't Vortex shader is not gonna take long, but stay with me. But yeah, I'm gonna do some shading for the weapons to just tone them down a little bit. Okay. Okay, so my shader apparently. Oh, there we go. It seemed like it just stopped working. I was probably just pushing it too hard. There we go. Okay, cheap stuff from eBay. Don't buy that. Doesn't work well. Best $12 investment. Yeah, well, something about the switch in the actual device itself, because even when I took off the paint bottle, it refused to stop working. So, Modifian, can you zap that dude? So, just gonna mix up some quickly. Now, for you other guys there, if any of you are miniature painters, the challenge is you're using the painting set means that we only have this strong tone wash to work with. So since I actually want some real proper black shade on the weapons, I just have to mix it up myself using a little bit of black paint and water, and this is not thin enough, so we need more water. Thank you, Modifian. Yep, does feel good, doesn't it? And I'm very sure that whoever that person was has some lovely products they can share with people, but I don't want them doing it here on my channel. So let's see what we can do with this black ink of a sort. Should probably have been thinner. Don't care. This guy likes his weapon sort of charcoal darkened. So, oh yeah, for you new people, I should mention that the music we're listening to is Adrian von Ziegler, who is a very nice Swiss, I believe, artist, musician, who will actually let you use his music for free on stuff like this, streams and non-commercial projects. Love the beard, thank you. Love the paint job, thank you. Love the music. I'm really enjoying it. I'm very happy. If you haven't already, please consider giving me a follow. I stream miniature painting twice a week, every Wednesday and every Sunday. I start around 1900 hours CET, European time, because I'm in Denmark. That's a time that fits me well. So yeah, feel free to drop by. I like to chat. Yeah, you listen to Adrian von Ziegler. He's got the amazing music for role-playing games, or just whenever you need background music. I think it's really nice, and most of his albums are kind of themed, so you'll have roughly the same style of music all the way through. So that's cool. You're in Serbia? Yeah, I guess that's the same time zone. If it's 9:10 in the evening for you, then yes. So cool. This is going to be really quick. And again, the challenge here is to just paint a miniature with, for me, a rather limited time available and limited colors available. So we're just playing around with this. It's sort of a Christmas project we gave ourselves, some of the Danish streamers. but it's a fun challenge, and it's been nice to go back to the basics a little bit and being limited in the number of colors available to me to do this. And when I'm done with just a quick wash of his armor plates here on his legs, what I'll be doing then is I'll be removing him from the base, and then I'll quickly just touch up the base a little bit, and then he will be done. Shouldn't take more than about, I would say, half an hour, 45 minutes. I'm sure I've forgotten some details somewhere that I need to dot in later on, but this is beginning to be an acceptable result. Oh yeah, I know what I forgot. At some point I want to do the lines on the axe here, just give them a brief red color once the ink has dried, or shade has dried, just to not have it be as boring metallic as it is here. And I'm also, just to say it up front, I'm not going to dot in the eyes because I'm terrible at doing eyes, and it always makes it worse to do eyes in a poor way than to just leave them out. So yeah, I think it's time to pop him off. There we go. And then we need to do some coloring on the base. And I'm gonna be boring. I'm gonna try to make a sand color for these parts here. I'll leave the skulls being white. I'll just shade them later on. And this crackle parts, I'm probably gonna try grayish tone and just highlight it. Dry brush it out a little bit at some point. Yeah, let's see if we can do that. So how do you make a gray? Well, you make a gray from black and white. I'm working here on my wet palette, which is also from Army Painter, the same company as the paints. Just decided to try it out while I was trying out the paints, and figured why not also try out the wet palette, and I've been quite pleased with it so far. Couldn't hold the paints for 4 days since my last stream, but that is very much to be expected. I mean, 4 days is way too long for paint to stay there. So that's a pretty decent gray we got here. So yeah. But anyway, Miss Chameleon, what Christmas card did you do? Sort of, did you just, I don't know, did some origami stuff, or you can wear 4 months with the red grass? That is pretty impressive, father. So yeah, 4 months that is actually really impressive. They always dry out for me. Can't even remember if it actually is a red grass I have. It's the one that sort of has an orange lid. That red grass is silicone seal. Yeah, the one I have is an orange lid, and again the silicone seal, which I think mine somehow got a little banged up or mashed up at some point. Seems like it lost some of its airtightness along the way, which is yeah, okay. So it is a red grass I have. Thank you for clearing that up. When I don't know it. Yeah. Now see, for this part here, I would actually have preferred to use a far larger brush just to do the rough base code here on, well, on the base. But again, the challenge is to only use the materials from the starter set, and then of course the wet palette, and we allowed ourselves one other brush, since just only having the starter brush might be too limiting, and I chose a 3.0 brush for some fine detailing, which I apparently haven't done a lot of, so I would have been better off with something else, I guess. But this will have to do. I hope you can see a little bit what goes on. Thank you, Rage. The music has gone awfully quiet. Don't know if that is just because it is a quiet song. I think it is. Or maybe my audio has gone out again. Well, anyway. Okay, yeah, you can hear me, but let's just go here. Yeah, that's better. Yeah, the music is better. I think it's the if there's a few songs on that album that are really quiet, so I just skipped to another album entirely. So it should be a little better now. So cool. Thank you for being my audio tech. So usually when I stream, I tend to go off on rants about role-playing games and all manner of systems that I've been playing for the past like 30 plus years. I started out with the very old the red box set for D&D, and just worked my way through AD&D, Shadowrun, Earthdawn, Warhammer, Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, probably a ton of others that I can't remember, some of the newer Dungeons & Dragons parts as well. And I like to just share my experiences. They are by no means to be taken as scripture or truths or anything like that, but I mean, I have some things that work for me and work for the groups I've been playing in, and I don't mind sharing. I also don't mind just randomly chatting about it. So I might do that. If you have anything particular you want to hear my thoughts on, could be character creation, could be how to DM, how to run things in a sort of consistent way, world building, whatever. Yeah, you need to sleep. Thank you for dropping by, Fabe. I look forward to our shared stream Tuesday, when we talk about our experiences with the Army Painter products here and the painting and stuff like that. Have a great night. So yeah, but to start off on some kind of rant, we played last night in my regular group, and it's a bit strange because we're using the Shadowrun rule system in a fantasy world. It's a homebrew world that my game master has been working on for probably 20 years or so, on and off. We've been playing in it. That helps evolve the different areas, but he's always been interested in giving us a base somewhere. And we've been playing in very different groups over the years, so since he wanted to do that, he actually gave us an entire town yesterday. We've been playing for the past 4 or 5 game days. It's not only just sessions, like 8 or 10 hour game days, and working hard on fixing some problems with a kind of zombie outbreak in one of the largest cities in the area. And since some of the people who disappeared during all of that were the family and the people who ran this nearby small town of about 200 people, our reward was, here you go, you have a town, you have a small village, which was nice, but also a little daunting, because how are we going to do this? We're playing fairly new characters actually, so they're young-ish, they don't know much about all these different things like managing, the workers and the economy and all of that. So what do? Well, we just start somewhere and maybe hire on some people and do that aspect. But I think it was a neat thing for him to do, because it adds something to the game. It means that we are no longer just be traveling around, going from one place to another. We actually have somewhere that we might want to return home, return home there and build a base, and he can use it to spawn all kinds of interesting scenarios and new challenges for us. So it's gonna be fun. Really interested in seeing where he wants to take this part. If he really wants us to go all in as city administrators, or if it's more sort of just a passive thing that can be used to start off plot hooks and things like that. But yeah, I don't know. Time will tell. So this is taking forever, because I need to get into all the small cracks between the pieces of rock and make sure that they're properly painted in. That is just gives a lot more to paint than you can't just drag the brush across it. But still, it's gonna look nice. That's actually one of the things I like about a lot of the new models from Citadel and Games Workshop, is that they come with these bases, which is a huge step up from just slapping on a little bit of gravel or whatever you have. You actually get a lot of things here for free, so to speak. Well, the miniatures are not free. Anyone buying Games Workshop products knows that. But I still think it's nice that you can actually make, if you don't want to do the bases, you build them up from scratch yourself, you actually get a really good product here, that you can just quickly paint over, give some shade, maybe a little bit of dry brushing, and you're good to go. So I just need to consider how I want to do sort of a sandy color for the I don't even know what it is that's lying around near the skulls, but I decided that it should be sort of a khaki sand color, but I actually have no idea how to mix that up with the paints I've got. So if any of you have any suggestions, feel free to share them. Just need to quickly touch up. I accidentally got some gray on some of the skulls. Just quickly clean that up a little bit. There we go. And now a lot of this is actually not going to be very visible when actually looking at the model later on, because it's going to be under the miniature itself. So should just do it, probably just do it a lot faster than I do. So no, so what I want to do is I want to get to have something over here. I mean, I want to hit a color sort of like this, but with limited paints. I guess we'll be mixing these two here. Maybe add some white as well. So let's see what it does when you turn it on. Yeah, it's just good. Cheap paint shaker. Well, at least it'll make your life interesting. Is that kind of? I'm just trying out paints. I should be able to do that on screen here. Especially if I flip it like this. I'm trying to work my way towards something here. It has sort of a little bit like sand. Not really sure I like this. A little bit too gritty. That's getting a little bit too white. No, it's actually getting pretty close to what I want here in terms of this. So that should do. Let's just get a little bit of water in there to keep it moist and flowing. And oh, that's really good. This is basically the style of color I was going for. So that was easy. Or I just got lucky. That's also, as I always tend to say, luck is a perfectly valid tactic. It has saved me many times in games. I don't want to hear anything about how it can also backfire, because that's just random stuff. Doesn't matter. Hey, Wohan, welcome. Yeah, you're catching the tail end. I got started a little late because I had to play Portal 2 with one of my friends. And then I had some technical issues, so I started even later. So I'm pulling it a little late today. But I actually got the model itself pretty much done. There are some details that I'd like to put in at some point, but for this current challenge test here, it'll have to do. It's painted, it's got some highlights and so on, shades, stuff like that. Turned out pretty well, all things considered. And then I'm just quickly doing the base and should finish in hopefully less than half an hour. Hey Bill, you about to go walk the dogs? Maybe then. Okay, cool. Thanks for dropping by, Bill. Thanks for the lurk, and have a great trip with the dogs. I hope you get to play with them in the snow a little bit, if you still have snow. Nah, snow is all made it. If the host, can I repeat it? Well, you can watch it in about half an hour when I'm all done. Then I will gladly repeat it to you. I can also call you up and then just play the stream for you if you prefer that. Now I should probably do a little bit of advertisement. You don't do VODs, those are for plebes. Well, I don't know if they are or not, but it's a theory. No, but maybe to some of our new viewers, I should do a little bit of ad, whatever, since there were some people from Norway. If you ever get to travel again, and if you like board games, I highly suggest you drop by Copenhagen. Go to the Bastard Cafe in Copenhagen, because that's a really nice board game cafe. We have almost 4,000 different board games on our shelves. I volunteer there as a games guru, which means I help people get started and answer rules, questions, and things like that. And Rohan is also one of the gurus. I think you've been a guru for longer than I have, actually. So yeah. So if you are in Copenhagen and you want to play board games, go to the Bastard Cafe. Great atmosphere, lovely people, good beer, good cider, good coffee, finger snacks of various kinds, and generally just a nice place to be. But again, completely shut down due to the pandemic at the moment. So that was basically the base code for the base itself. And touch up. I messed up the skulls a little bit with some of the gray. That should be fine. So the next step is just to just let it dry for a little bit. While we're doing that, we can just drop the mini on the table. Let's just take a look at him. This is how he turned out. Considering that I've been using paints I'm not used to using and colors I'm not used to working with, and trying out a lot of new techniques, I am actually pretty pleased with the final result. I mean, it is not a centerpiece. It is not meant to be, award-winning display level or quality of painting here. This is just something that should be on the board, on the table, and look good. So let's move on, doing the strong tone wash, just to get some shade on the base itself. And again, for this I could really use a larger brush, because this is just going to be slapped on to everything here. And depending on the outcome, I may just leave the base without any highlights and dry brushing, because often there's one thing I like about the Army Painter, the washes and the quick shade line of products, is that they actually give a really nice finish in and of themselves. It is of course going to be darker than if I cleaned it up with some highlights, but just do this real quick, just spread it out, get lots of the quick shade on your brush, just slap it on, get it down into all the recesses. If something becomes too clogged up with the shade, just rinse your pencil. I'm sorry about calling pencils, but they're called brushes. They're called pencils. Pencil in Danish. That's why I call them pencils sometimes. But if you just wipe off your brushes and some water, dry them off, you can just clean out the pools of the shade real quick, and it's gonna just dry up that much nicer. Also make sure you get the skulls here, so you get the area on top of the nose between the eyebrows, well, where the eyebrows used to be. That's a part of a skull that's really nice to get shaded properly, because it helps define the model, define the skull and all that. Gives some really nice lines that show up very well at a distance. So I always try to be a little careful about getting that shaded in. So the good thing about the shading is that it really doesn't take a long time. Now, see, I have way too much pooled here, where that skull is. Yeah, thanks. Well, the base is the one that comes with the model, so it's just the standard Citadel Games Workshop stuff. But it's a really nice base. I mean, I love that they're doing this on their newer miniatures. So much better than just the flat ones. And yeah, I think that is pretty much it for now. The base just needs to dry out. Again here, just adding a little bit more, sort of selectively shading them here and there. Getting sure again that you get the lines in, with filled in with some shade. And there you go. And the shade just really brings it out. So I think I'm gonna stick to that for now on the base part. Actually going to put him down on the base just a little bit again, because I had a few things I really wanted to try out and test here. I'm not pushing him all the way down, as you can see, because I want to make it easier for me to just pop him out again in a little bit if I need to do more work, like dry brushing the base if I decide to do that. But all things considered, having this piece here on the model, on the board, it is far better than just having gray plastic. No doubt about that. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to thin down some of my red paint to give, to make a kind of ink that I just, or a shade, or wash, whatever you want to call it, that I just gently want to wipe over some parts of the axe to make it look like it is either bloodied or just give it a little bit of shine. I mean, what I'm talking about here are the lines you can see that's sort of holding the axe head. So let's see how it goes. Oh wait, that's way too much and way too liquid. Need to tone it down a lot here. That is way too thin. This is what I'm talking about. Just give it a brief sort of red outline. I mean, this guy is a follower of Khorne, which is one of the chaos deities in the Warhammer universe. And since Khorne is a blood god, then I figured that a little bit of extra red, especially on something like his weapon, is not a bad way to go. Just have to make sure that I don't actually paint it sort of fully red. Just have to be this really thinned down, watery color without making it too watery. It's a little bit tricky to get right at the moment. I think it's getting somewhere. See here on top, just getting that it is not really red, but it is visible when the light falls on it. And to me that always just adds a little bit. You know, I cheated a bit on the shaft here because I was too lazy to actually make it sort of a wooden shaft with the metal on top. So I'm going the other way around and saying that I'm going to make parts of the metal pop in some way. So hopefully that will work. So neat. Just a little bit more down here. And then do the same with the sword. Just to make that a little bit more interesting than the basic colors it had now. So let's see, I think that is pretty much the end of what I'll be doing with this guy here. That just a tad more. So yes, I mean that shined it up a little bit, not so much on the sword. This doesn't come through on camera, but it is actually there, you know, the red coloring, barely visible. So it still has sort of the metallic shine to it, but now it has a little bit of a red glow as well. So there we go, that was a lot better. Now it's actually almost visible. And yeah, at this point I could probably go on, you know, fiddling with a lot of small details. He's got his corn symbol. There we go, his corn symbol up on his forehead. We'll do some extra shading on the carving he's got there, a little bit more highlight on the yellow parts. But basically I'm just gonna call it quits, because otherwise I'm never gonna be done with this miniature. And I said it's part of a challenge we're doing. So yeah, that's gonna be it. So yeah, the end result of what I could do with a single miniature and the starter paint set from the Army Painter. Let's get him in frame. Let's also, now don't have, oh yeah, can do like this. Get him just a little bit of a white background here. I mean, I'd like to do more with his head, obviously, but all things considered, having this guy standing around on your board, on your battlefield, whatever game you're playing, I think it's a fairly decent result for that. And yeah, I think that is quite nice. So I'm just looking through my list of people here. Thank you, Modifian. And again, as you saw, it took a fairly long time to actually paint the base colors on the base, and then I just slapped on the shade really quick, and it just did wonders for the final look. So I just took a look on Twitch to see if there were any people online that we might raid, but apparently everyone has gone to bed. So I will just say thank you for showing up. To the new people, Rage, Chameleon, what else do we have up here? Probably a few other ones that I've forgotten, sorry about that. It's been a pleasure having you drop by. Corpse Throat, of course Frabbe, if you ever see the part of this. Thank you for dropping by, thank you for the raid. I will shut down for tonight, but remember that I am back Wednesday at 7 PM CET. For now, I'll just say have a lovely Sunday evening, and remember to keep painting.